Let's talk about drawbore pins. So I buy my pin stock from a dowel manufacturer, and I buy about 100 dowels at a time. And when I cut them up into dowels, and I figure I'm trading my time going to the home center and digging through and trying to find a decent dowel for a little extra cost in sourcing. So when I just go ahead and cut them all up, and then I pick as I'm using them, I'll pull them out and inspect them. And I'm looking at a couple of things. I'm looking for really obvious cathedrals, and this one has a cathedral here, but on the other end, it starts to go back the other way. So that's a sign to me that in this plane, that the grain is pretty straight. The other thing I look at is I can see these bigger pores here. That's my early wood, and that's where the sap in the spring is running, and it causes it to grow really fast, so it's less dense. Well, so what I'll do is I'll track that line all the way down the side to the other end, and I'll see that it's almost centered on both ends. So this is a good pin. I can keep it. This pin jumps out to me as a fail right away. So you see all those cathedrals pointing in this direction. This might be easier if I lean it to the side. And now if you look at, so if you rotate the dowel 90 degrees, you can see that the medullary rays are all running out from one edge to the opposite edge as it goes down the length of the pin. So that's a medullary fail. Now if you look at the pores, the early wood, it runs nice and straight. So in that plane, the grain is straight, but in this plane, the grain is off, so this fails. Okay, this one is going to be a fail, I can tell right now. And it may be a fail in both directions. So we've got medullary rays or flake making arches as it moves in, so they're all pointing in this direction, and if I rotate it to the other side, they'll point in the other direction. If I do, okay, so now we're looking at the quarter sawn plane. So our growth rings are perpendicular to this face. So if we rotate it 90 degrees, we can see that the medullary rays are running out. They're running at a pretty steep angle and climbing up the side. And then it starts to curve back here. So this is a little bit of a wonky grain here. There was a change in the grain direction as it went from one end of the dowel to the other. We look at our early wood pores. We can see that they run out as well. This one is running down as it goes to the side. Let's see if it's a little bit clearer on the other side. So now you can see that line of pores running at a pretty sharp angle. So my rule of thumb is if this, let's just imagine that this early wood ring is right in the center. If it can't get to the other side without staying, in the middle third of the ring, starting out dead center on this end to the middle third of the end of the dowel, I toss it out. And I look through all of your pins before I put them in your kit, and they should all be passes. So I encourage you to take a look at these and see what you can see. There should be some extra pins. So if you find one that's questionable, like this is automatic fail. I mean, you can just see that grain running at a really steep angle. So here's a medullary ray that runs through, starts out on this side of the bottom half of the dowel and ends up running out the side of the top half. Now if we look at the end and we follow the pores, I would, if the other side was straight, I would pass this dowel. I would say it was good enough. But it's got to pass in both directions to be a good dowel, because it could split in either direction. You could split along the grain line, or you could split, which is actually more common, you could split along the medullary rays. So I picked through 42 pins, ended up with 22 rejects and 20 keepers. I only need 16 to do the assembly, but I always like to have a few extra on hand. I don't want to feel like I can't just toss one out if I decide I find something I don't like about it. So these 22, these are kindling.